We'll come back. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Biz Dev Live with C. That's me, Cameron Toth, and I'm so excited today. I'm bringing you the one, the only, Rob Genovesi. He is the Unleash My Beast brand guy. He is somebody that if you're in Master Networks, is just compelling in every meeting that you go to. I'm so happy to be able to bring him to you now for all the folks that don't get to see him as often as I do. I've worked with them. His services are great. I really recommend that you set up a face-to-face if you haven't before. Rob Genovesi is a branding coach. His company, Unleash My Beast brand, helps raise the value of your business so you can charge more now and sell it for more later, starting with brand strategy and following it up with design and language. He will also create a logo, a website, social media branding, and any other design needs you may have to keep your brand cohesive. They help service-based businesses such as coaches, trainers, and consultants raise their game above the average players in the industry. At Unleash My Beast brand, they help make your competition irrelevant. Rob is also a husband, father of 4, and a speaker. He speaks regularly on the topics of branding, design, and hosts the Building Beast Brands podcast. Please help me welcome Rob Genovesi.
All right. Thanks, Cameron. What a great introduction. I was wondering who this awesome person was, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, you live up to the billing, man. I definitely will give you that.
Thanks. Well, it's good to be here. I've been looking forward to this because I just love chatting with people about business, especially about branding, but anything really. And so I appreciate the opportunity.
So talk to us about your background. I think it's always interesting just to get a basis, okay, he's the marketing branding guy, but where is your, passion for this come from? What is your experiences? How have they built to, where you are now?
Well, my training and my education is in graphic design. And so I've always been a fan of good design. I've always paid attention to it in many areas of my life. And so I did that for many years. But, after getting very kind of discouraged with having a job and never really being able to express myself, when I started my company, it was a design company, and we shifted focus from print, which I have many years in, to websites, and started building websites, and realized websites are they're a commodity and anybody can build one. You can use any of the DIY builders and do it yourself. So what I was doing wasn't really highly valued, and I really wasn't able to make enough money to build the kind of business I wanted to build. So I decided, I always thought branding first anyway. As a designer, I never packaged it that way. But when I was doing work for a client, I thought, well, we need to make sure that the website and the logo and anything else, any of the design images need to work together to emphasize the unique offering the person had. But I never said that. I did it kind of in the background in my own mind. And when I presented, they were always happy. But I had an epiphany one day when a client said to me, he said to me, he goes, I kind of need a brand. And that word floated around for me a little while. And when I unleashed his logo and his website with all this thought process behind it, he was blown away, and he was so excited and so happy, and to this day so thankful. And I realized I had it backwards. I should offer the brand strategy first, that thinking behind it that ties it all together, and then support it with the design and the language, which is the copywriting, essentially the messaging, the voice of that business. And so we start now with brand strategy, and that's what I sell. And then we'll back it up, which is another package, separate package, which is the design and the language to execute on that strategy.
I love that. And I'll tell you a couple of reasons why it's the right approach for somebody like myself, because I think it opens up a lot of opportunities. For myself, the way that I've kept my business lean and not have a lot of costs from the beginning is, for the most part, I've done the website design myself. I've done a lot of the marketing myself. My mindset these things aren't particularly difficult. I don't want to go out and pay a lot of stuff. I'd rather have control. And that's sort of a key word for me is control. I want to be able to manipulate what I need to, when I need to. I don't want to have to get on a committee call or pay somebody every time I want to make a change. I want to be quick. I want to be nimble. I want to be able to, offer something as I get an idea and boom, 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 get into it. So I love the fact that you gave me, when we went through the process, tools that I could utilize, that I could function with right away and start building out content because I'm ready, I'm going, right? And so, even the branding that you're seeing today, the pink and black, that came out of our conversation through the brand reveal and everything. You're seeing the product of it on the screen right now.
That whole idea of giving a guy like yourself who really wants to run with his business and do things. There's two different camps. There's you who wants to do it himself, who gets it when it's taught and runs with it and sticks and moves based on how his marketing is going. And so there's another client out there who really doesn't understand it and probably doesn't want to, because they want to just focus on what they do in business. And so the marketing thing becomes this ancillary thing that they want to hire out or they want somebody else to take care of. And so that's what I'll essentially do in the execution and my one-on-one coaching. But for people like yourself, I love people like you who want to go, because I get charged up when people get pumped about their own business. That's why every Friday I do it. That's right. Yeah. That's why every Friday I put out a LinkedIn video, and it goes out on Facebook, teaching people about the power of branding and what they can do to brand themselves. Because some of this stuff you can do and should do, like what you're doing here with the lives and the videos you put out, and you brand them properly and you have a voice and a format. I give you the tools to be able to do that if you want to. But if you don't want to, or don't really, maybe it's more profitable for you to hire somebody like me to do it with you and for you, then we can do that too.
Hey, Mark. Hello. Good morning. So Mark's been watching the show. I really appreciate him. He's been soaking up the business advice. He's actually a paramedic that just works around the corner from me on Westlake Drive here in Valhalla, which is pretty cool. Thanks for tuning in, Mark. Let's get into some comments. And hopefully, Mark, you'll send us some questions. Anybody else that's watching, please send us your questions and comments. We'd love to help a business with their marketing issues live and really bring some value. If you have a question, there's probably 20 or 20,000 other people that have that same question. So we'd love to answer it for you. Talking about just your background, I know you got a bushel of kids like I do at home and everything. We're doing a ton of meetings right now. How are you finding balance in what you're doing and still delivering? Because I know not only are you participating in a ton of Zoom meetings with master networks, you're working on your speaking career, you're actually producing for your clients right now. And as I understand it, business is all right because, a lot of people are pivoting like myself and need the help.
Yeah. So, thank God business is doing well. We haven't really skipped a beat, and I think a lot of that has to do with going through the Corona crisis. Businesses, and like yourselves, some are, effectively shut down. So what do you do? So you do pivot, but some people, if they're not pivoting, they're just looking at their own business and saying, well, this is the time where maybe I can do something. We get stuck in working on our businesses every single day that we don't think about marketing and advertising, generally speaking. So people are taking this opportunity where they have more time on their hands to look at their branding and say, okay, now's the time I can do that. And so those people are coming to me and I'm able to help them do that. Because here's the thing, well, do it now, you come out of this crisis a lot stronger than before. And that's what I want to help people do is, look, we're going through it and it's a very tragic situation. And some people are, seriously affected by it, but business has to move forward. People need to make money. They need to feed their families. They need to be able to pay their bills. So I recognize that. And I've done some things. I started doing some free 1 hours with people to help them keep moving forward. And like I was telling you before we started, some of that time is spent untangling their mind so they can focus on what they need to be doing in order to execute on some of the things that I'm talking about, or even just untangling them to just get moving on what they were doing before. And now we just kind of add some branding nuances to it to help them start to differentiate themselves.
Yeah, I love that. And I also am really interested in how we can help people as they're moving through that process. I know there's a lot of people that are struggling right now. I'm honestly, I'm super excited about my life right now because I feel like I'm moving in the right direction. But there's folks that had good businesses that, they were doing, what they wanted to before. So, how can we help them on the marketing side? And then for somebody that is pivoting, that sort of wants to figure out what the best way to tackle the market is, I'd love to serve, both of those kind of folks on here. So let's talk about the folks that, they have a business, but it's a little challenged right now. What would you suggest on the marketing and branding side to sort of help them move forward?
So are we talking about people who've kind of been stunted by Corona,
Yeah.
or? Yeah, I mean, I run everything through a branding filter. So obviously I'll always go to that first. And the tragic truth is that most businesses need stronger branding. And although everybody, I'm sorry.
Just period. Like before Corona, now just in period in general, right? Folks are.
Yeah. People know they need a strong brand. People are attracted to strong brands. I mean, look at what Apple's done with their brand. Really, they were one of the few companies who can announce a new device. And the night before, people are lining up on the streets to get in for something they've never even held in their hand. And this is the kind of culture they've created because they back, see, here's the thing. They back it up with quality products that are well designed, that make people happy and feel good about being a part of the company that's produced it, because Apple does things because they want to put the power in your hands, and they've done that with their devices.
Right.
They have a very strong brand, created very strong loyalty, and they have raving fans. They don't really have to advertise, and they don't have to say who they are. And here's the other thing. They lead the way in innovation.
Right.
So many companies, think about this. When they came out with the iPhone and that unique touchpad thing where you can pinch and zoom, they weren't the first to develop that technology.
Right.
But they were the first to say, this is where we need to go. And then didn't you know it? A year or two later, everybody else had the touch screen. So you have to.
I was definitely in the group. Like, I need the keyboard. I need the keyboard. That's not going to work for me. I need the keyboard. Do I have a keyboard today? No, I do not.
It's like, yeah, no, if it doesn't have a touch screen, it's like, what are we, Neanderthals here? What are these? It's like a hammer and chisel.
The technology works. It's functional, right? And you just have to sort of adapt to it. And the technology moves beyond you. You can't find it, so now you're forced to try it. And guess what? It works better than what you thought you could do before, right? And one piece of the conversation, because you were going someplace with this, and I'm, sorry to even interject. I'm trying to learn how to let people talk more, but I get excited sometimes, right? One of the pieces that you were talking about, Apple's profit. So this is something that's key in business, and I don't think, especially entrepreneurs, that we put enough value on the profit aspect of a business, right? So, and this is like, when you pitch yourself, I always love that you talk about this, but the thing that branding, marketing well allows you to do is charge more for your services. If you're charging a certain rate and people aren't biting, so you feel like you have to lower your price, maybe you aren't fishing in a big enough pond. And what marketing and branding can do, and social media engagement and all these pieces to the puzzle can do, is maybe get you to the right pond where you can get the price that is the right price to provide you enough profit so that you can grow your company, because you're allowed to do this kind of like, okay, if we're talking about a caterer, which is, my everyday, who I'm dealing with, and for my business, 30% food cost, 30% labor, 30% profit, and then 10% capital funding, right? So, and that's not a lot of people, not what I hadn't done it in the past. And because of the profit margins on my business, it was difficult to do. But now, as I'm building out the next iteration of what my business and my life is going to be, I'm building it with the idea in mind that I have these profit margins that not only provide a profit, but also capital growth so that I can invest in the future, buy the building, buy the vehicles, buy the services. So let's talk about that in terms of marketing, branding, and really letting your company thrive so that you can build into the future.
So we're talking about two separate things here, which I'm glad you brought that up, because I've kind of got on a bit of a rant about this lately, and that's profit. People are doing business and they're taking on clients and they're executing, and they're saying, I'm so busy and I've got lots of clients and business is good. And how many times have we seen this? I'm a fan of the show The Profit with Marcus Lemonis, and he'll go into the books and, oh, our business is doing $2 million a year. And he looks at the books and it's like, yeah, but you lost 200 grand. So where's your profit? And they're like, oh, geez, I don't know. And I think even on a smaller level with our local businesses, you have to build in the profit first. And I'm going to talk about a book that I'm actually reading for the second time, because sometimes the first time doesn't register, right? So I'm reading it again. It's called Profit First. It's by Mike Michalowicz. What a phenomenal book. It's been recommended to me by many successful entrepreneurs. And it talks about the idea of, the traditional thinking is you have revenue minus expenses equals profit. And it's kind of backwards, because it says that, you pay your taxes and you pay your payroll and you pay your operating expenses, you do all these, and what's left over, whatever it is profit. And so sometimes there's nothing left over because you're not really watching it. It goes against human nature. So what you do is, everybody in personal finance, however, has heard the phrase, pay yourself first, right? You pay yourself first. It's a part of a basic money plan that you always pay yourself first, so you do have something. And so the idea that applies to business, what Mike is saying in the book Profit First, is say, take a percentage of as profit and put it into an account where you don't even look at it. So profit first, and then you run it through a couple of other accounts where you'll allocate for operating expenses and taxes and whatnot. And you could read the book. And he says, when you do that, you will always be profitable. And so I took that advice to heart, and I made sure I was profitable first. And I had a conversation with my wife, who runs a couple of businesses, and somebody else. And sometimes if you're in business for the first time, you're uncomfortable with taking a profit, because you're usually doing what you love to do, but now you're offering it to people. So you're uncomfortable making a profit. But think about it this way. If you don't take a profit, it means you're not going to be in business next year to keep adding value to people. And if you want to keep adding value to people, you have to be able to sustain a business that perpetuates that. So mindset, think about that first in terms of
this here, Profit First by Mike.
This is the book.
Okay.
What a phenomenal book. I recommend that everybody needs to read it. It's phenomenal. It's got some great recommendations.
In the comments, yeah.
Yeah, if you read, the what is it, the acknowledgments or the people who endorse it, some big names, but a great book. So the other thing that you talked about was branding, and how when you have a strong brand, you can increase your profits. You can charge more. So the reason that Profit First is important is because you have to build it in. You can't just not pay attention to profit and just charge more, because the profits won't be there. So read the book, Profit First. The next thing is build a strong brand. Why? Here's the thing. If you're in the price game, you are in a dangerous game, because unless you have lots of resources, you're taking on some big guys who have the resources and can put you out of business because they can operate on very thin margins. So if you charge more, you're able to take more for yourself. The thing with a brand is, when you build a strong brand, you build a premium product, right? So we're going to go on the assumption that you are good at what you do. You provide a great service, you provide a great product. That's a given. If you don't, start there, because you shouldn't be branding. You should be focusing on providing a great value. But after that, you need to be able to build a strong brand, which is something that somebody can be drawn to, attracted to. And this comes out of, the whole strategy that provides a logo and a website and messaging. When you build a strong brand, you raise trust, you lower risk, and people, contrary to popular opinion, they don't buy the cheapest option. They buy the least risky option. And so people will pay more for lower risk. And that's where you can charge more, become a premium brand. And if if you've built in profitability, guess what? You can really build a profitable business that can charge more now. And as we know from big brands, you could sell it for more later, which is part of what we should be thinking about, because eventually we want to retire, right? And we want to be able to get something for our years of efforts.
Yeah, this is a common theme in my life. It's about creating opportunity. And I know I've limited myself because I didn't have that mindset of what are you doing to create the next opportunity, the next ability to pivot. And what you're talking about is just basically building a business that allows you to do more of the things that you want to do. It allows you to create more and help more people and that sort of thing. So I love that. I'm going to put up a comment. Mark says he just got some domains. How should I introduce them to the world? And you know what, Mark? I just purchased domains last night because I'm getting excited because I took some of Rob's brand reveal information that he gave to me, created a new business name for Toth Event Staffing, which I'm really excited about, but it's all under wraps for the moment because I want to basically understand exactly this question. So thanks for asking this question, Mark. You just got some domains. How should I introduce them to the world? Take it away, Rob.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about domains is people usually think about it in one dimension. And that's, I've named my company. First of all, if you name your company, you should name it something where you can own the domain. So, when I looked at mine, for instance, Unleash My Beast brand, it's very unique. So I named my company that so I can buy the domain unleashmybeastbrand.com. So that should be consideration. But if you have a name already, and you don't want to change the name of the company and you can't buy the domain, well, that domain should be something along the lines of what your messaging is. There's a global branding expert. His name is David Breyer. And so the name of his company is DBD International. But his website is risingabovethenoise.com because that's his message. He's saying there's so much noise out there, you need to be able to rise above it through branding. So you can do that as well. If you've got some domains, like what Mark is saying, I've got some domains, I've got lots of domains, because the other thing you want to think about is if somebody makes a mistake in your name, you should own that mistake so that it redirects right to the website anyway. So, my company's Unleash My Beast brand, but some people get it wrong and they go Unleash Your Beast brand. So guess what? I own that too. So that's what you need to do. Is if you have a domain that you prefer, that's the one you talk about. That's it. I don't give multiple domains because I want to cut down on the confusion. What we're doing today with all the power and the tools we have to get ourselves out there to raise awareness on our own, you're vying for people's attention. Years ago, you had to hire a PR firm, an ad firm, marketing agencies to get your word out there. Now you can do that. And since everybody's entrance to the game is basically sign up for the account, what you're doing is you're vying for their attention. What stops them from scrolling? So keep your message focused. Use one domain. Make it a really captivating domain. That would be the best idea so that people never forget it. And that's what I would do.
That's awesome. And what would you say in terms of, okay, so now I picked my one domain, and I did the same thing. I bought a couple of different domains because I wanted to own some of the different things that I know could come up. I also wanted to create some pages potentially where they could come and find some different services. So I could send somebody through a different kind of funnel, if you will, to find some of my services. For example, because I have Toth Event Staffing and I'm going to rebrand it, I wanted to have a page that would be specifically for staffing so that when people come and they find this, oh, wow, this guy's into business development and marketing and, college and career, kind of stuff. Where's the staffing thing? I want to have a landing page just for them. So they'll have a special place that they can go just for their stuff when I'm creating those funnels. But for folks that are looking for that strategy, they've come up with their name, they've come up with their baby, and they want to, make a splash and introduce that to the world and get some attention. What would you recommend around that, that kind of marketing and experiential branding?
Well, now you're getting into an area of marketing that is, oh, okay, I've got these domains and I want to appeal to a certain audience, or I have facets of my company. And when you talk about landing pages, you could have dozens and dozens of landing pages that have different purposes. So it's a not an easy question to answer in just one sitting. It really depends on what you're looking to achieve. If I have a
Well, I think, to Mark's point, he's got one particular product or service, and he wants to get that out to the world. So he wants to get people to come to his website. How would you recommend positioning that and, working that through marketing and branding?
The first thing I always recommend, and it's the easiest, cheapest thing you can possibly do. How do you get it out to the world? Look, video is the medium of choice. There is no doubt about it. People would rather watch a video than read an article. And people will stop at a video in a feed versus read anything. Marketing gets expensive if you're going to start paying for advertising space like, Facebook ads, which are not expensive, but you still have to shell out some money. So what I always tell everybody, look, if you're just wanting to get out the word initially, you're just starting to raise awareness, take what you do. And you said it before, Cameron. You said, if you've got a question out there, chances are 20,000 people are thinking that same question, but don't ask it. And so my content, which I put out regularly every single week, is a video. And it's a 4-minute video, a 3-minute video, not long at all. And what I essentially do is my content is based on conversations I've had with people on questions that they've had. That's confusing them and stopping them from moving forward, or branding questions. What do you think about this? And so I'll make a video on that and I'll post it out there. And guess what? Because it's on one person's mind, it's on lots of people's minds, and I'll get engagement. I've gotten clients through LinkedIn because they saw my videos and I never met them. Here's what's happening. Mark, if you whatever your service is or your product, get on a video and talk about it as it solves a person's problems. Because what happens is they're gonna know your thoughts. Because when people see you, here's what they want to know. They go to your website. They want to know, number one, is he credible? And number two, can he help me? Those are the two things they're wondering. So how you solve that is when you do a video and you tell people how you think and how you're going to solve their problems. What you're saying is, here are my thoughts. Here's my approach. That's what people buy into. They don't buy into the product or service, or even maybe the industry that you're in to solve their problems. But when they see how you think and they hear it from the person himself, all right, they develop this trust. And what they're going to do is they're going to be like, hey, this guy seems to know what he's doing. Let me give him a shout. And that initiates the conversation right there. So basically free to do, right? And easy to do. Production is easy. Just, put your phone in front of you and speak.
Yeah, I think that people just, even though there's people out there, I mean, I know you've already brought up Gary Vee today. I might be thinking back to our master networks from this morning, but I think Gary Vee came up in the conversation. Just the idea of like, hey, this is what I can do to create a video and then touch the world. And it's literally as easy as hitting that record button and then pushing send. You can get fancy with it. You can put a lot of details. TikTok.
Hey, you can even drop an F-bomb every other word. Apparently,
you can create excitement with the content that you're doing. Mark Sibley is this guy that's watching here. I was looking at his Instagram. He's photogenic. He's a paramedic. He's got things that are captivating. And so I basically said to him, things that you're saying, it is like, utilize the trust and the credibility that is you. People like you and they want to hear about you. So don't doubt yourself, and let's get it. Go out there and create that content and bring people to your website.
Yeah, and the other part of that too is, I know a lot of people are afraid to get in front of video, and I get that. It's uncomfortable if you've never done it before. You're not used to talking to a lens where there's nobody in front of you, right? So what happens is you just overcome that by just doing it, and you be yourself. I'm not an eloquent speaker. I don't have a vast vocabulary, and honestly, it doesn't really matter. Here's the thing: content trumps everything. So if you've got good content and you're just yourself, people are attracted to you when you are just being you because they can relate. They fall in love with the person, and then they fall in love with the message, and eventually whatever you offer will become valuable to them. And that's how you separate yourself from your competition, just by being who you are. If people have 7 choices for to provide a solution for their challenge, who are they going to go to? They're going to go to the person they like, the person that offered the value, the person that makes them feel good. So just be yourself, get in front of the camera, and people will respond. And it does take practice.
Yeah, I love that. Mark. So I was just about to play devil's advocate here. So this is what Mark said: was sound like a robot, monotonous. So I can imagine, I'm on the other line. I'm a client, and you just told me that I'm interesting, that I have all, that people want to hear what I say, and my comment is, you know what, Rob, I'm not that interesting. I don't really have anything interesting to say. I just, my internet connection is weak. My phone doesn't necessarily work, right? Which is getting into us. I think you know where I'm going with this. So what do you say, or how do you work with a client that really cares about their business?
I think it's interesting, and I appreciate, Mark, that you're transparent, saying you feel like you sound like a robot. And I'm going to tell you something. That's exactly how I started out. And my hard wiring is I'm a very analytical person. I'm very cautious. I'm an introvert, believe it or not. A lot of people don't believe that, but I'm an introvert, and started out very shy, unable to have a conversation. But there was always that part of me that, when nobody was looking, I could just be me. And, I have a certain sense of humor. And regardless of whether anybody's paying attention, I'll entertain myself. I'll think of funny thoughts. I like a good joke. I like a funny show. And when you let yourself be influenced by what you're attracted to humor-wise and, personality-wise, and you loosen up, and don't be afraid of people who might be, you think, here's what we think. I'm going to go on a video and put myself out there, and I'm going to hate my voice, and people are going to hate what I have to say, and I'm not going to be entertaining. They're going to be bored. Well, welcome to the club. That's how most of us start out. But when you get used to just being comfortable with your own personality, and don't worry about it, because people, again, they'll be attracted to the real you. So you just go on and you do it and you practice. And as long as you are yourself, and I'm going to tell you something, I get a little bit animated here. And Cameron, when you and I, before we started the show, right, he was mentioning my podcast, Building Beast Brands, and how I kind of have a showman side of me. If you talk to me one-on-one, I'm usually not that animated, but when I get on my podcast and you can't see me, my voice gets raspy. It goes up and down. My volume goes up. My volume goes down depending on what I want to emphasize. And so I do that on purpose, because when I watched my first video, all right, and I listened to my first podcast before I put it out there, I realized I was also robotic too and monotonous. So I purposely raise my voice when I want to make emphasis, and I raise the volume, and I lower it when I'm just talking normal. And so I'm actually accentuating. And this is, if anybody is listening and you're an actor, you know this, that when you're on stage, you have to project, you have to amplify your volume, you have to almost exaggerate the personality parts of your voice. And, I do this, I'm Italian, so sometimes I got to do this, you got to use gestures. So you accentuate them on purpose. And I know that sounds a little weird, and when you first do it, it will be. But after a while, it just becomes natural, and you're just having a good time, right, Cameron? Cameron's right. He's like, yeah.
Yeah, listen, we got to get the thing going, and we got to make it. Let's go, right? That kind of stuff is fun. I think people enjoy it, and the more you do it, the more you're going to get comfortable with it. I don't. I'm doing these videos. I don't go back and watch a lot of them because I'm not super impressed with my voice. But obviously, there's some value to it. And what sort of gave me the confidence to start doing this show and doing some of the other things that I was doing on social media is I would put out a little bit of content, because I was listening to people like Gary B. And so, all right, I got to get out there. I got to put myself out there. let me try to do this. And then what happened? I would go to a networking meeting, and I would put, maybe I had a couple posts like twice last week, and then somebody would say to me, Cameron, you're doing a great job on social media. You're all over the place. You're really doing this thing. Now, meanwhile, I'm sitting there in my head, like I had like 2 posts. I was really trying to be more consistent, but it made an impact. And then I started to see that. And I was like, oh, this works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that goes back to what I was saying. You are who you are. So you're not trying to pretend, right? So you just put it out there. And I see Mark Jaffe stopping by. Thanks for stopping by, Mark. And Stephanie Bellafato. So Stephanie says, I have to work on feeling more comfortable in front of the camera, right? You know what? We all have to work on it, but it doesn't take long, because here's the thing. It is on-the-job training. It is, you learn as you go. You make all the mistakes as fast as you can. Some of the greatest advice I got before I did my podcast and before I started making videos was just start doing it now. Like, don't wait. Don't wait for a professional equipment to come from Amazon. Don't try and put up a professional backdrop. Just do it, get in front of it, because the faster you make the mistakes, the faster you'll overcome those mistakes the next time you do it, and you will get more comfortable. And so, people get worried about technology. I met a guy, he was asking me about, how I did the podcast and what equipment do I use. And he goes, I went out and I bought, one of the best microphones you can get. And I got it with that thing in front of it, that prevents me from spitting all over it. And I got headphones, and Cameron's got, but you're good. I mean, you got the performance down, and you got the showmanship down, but this guy hadn't done anything yet. And He goes, and I got the editing software, and I'm going to do it all. And I go, okay, so you got it all. So where's your podcast? Where can I listen? And I'll give you some feedback. And he goes, well, I haven't done it yet. I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, I did it, but I haven't put it out there. I'm waiting till I get it perfect.
So this
day, he has not put out his podcast.
Right. You got to do it. You can't buy the tools if you're not intending to do it. And I would say, don't buy the tools before you do it. Let it get better. I mean, that's how I started. And I started with Facebook Live, and then we get into the StreamYard platform. I'm going to bring on Mark Sibley's. This is very similar. I got on one night with Chaz with Master Networks, and that really just changed. I mean, just the fact that he invited me on, it was open, and it again inspired me and pushed me forward. So little steps like this. So we got Mark. Thanks for joining us, Mark. Can you hear us?
Hey, Mark.
Hey, how are you?
Listen to this guy's voice. This guy's voice is all right.
I can't hear Cameron.
Make it.
But I can hear you, Rob.
Oh, Cameron, he can't hear you.
You can't hear? All right, Mark, try to get your audio situated. But if you want to ask some questions, think of it. I'm going to put you back into the waiting room, and then see if you can fix your audio. You probably got to turn off Facebook or something.
I love what Mark Jaffe said. He said Chris Desi, who I've heard the name, I think. He said, did an entire $100 program on an old iPhone. By the way, the other part of my whole rant there about the guy I knew who had all the equipment, I've been doing a podcast roughly for over a year. My videos every week for a year. I still do it on my iPhone. It doesn't matter. Look, content trumps production. It doesn't matter. Now, eventually I'll upgrade, but look, it's working. So, some of those deficiencies people don't notice because the technology is so good. So appreciate that, Mark. That was a good tip.
Yeah, I think that comfort is a big thing. Going back to Stephanie's comment, she doesn't feel comfortable in front of the camera. So knowing that, Stephanie, what would make you feel comfortable? Just because we're saying video is probably, and truthfully, video is definitely one of the most effective ways for you to get out on social media. We know it's what people pay attention to, but there's a lot of room. If you're a good writer, if you're good on audio, maybe, you don't need, podcasts are huge. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about it. And then when it's popular and it takes off, you want to put a video behind it, then by all means, you get somebody involved that does a little video promotion for you, that sort of thing. There's going to be companies that you can reach out that can help you there. But you got to feel like, hey, this is something that definitely works. Going back to what I was saying before, do it a little bit, walk before you run, test the waters. But if you do, I guarantee you, especially if you're consistent with it and you're hitting some of the notes, following some of the best practices. Why don't we talk about that? I'm going to try to get Mark back on, and we'll see if he can hear us while he comes on. But why don't you talk about some of the best practices with social media, Rob?
So best practices, I think one of the things that is really, I think people get it, but they don't really think about it when they go to create their content. So I know a guy who he was trying to promote his business on Facebook. And so he went out and he started creating posts that were selling his product to people. And look, we all know ourselves, we don't like to be sold. When we're ready to buy, we'll buy, but we don't like to be sold. We just want to be able to know what you've got. So if we're ready, it happens. And I told him, I said, look, stop selling. He goes, but people aren't going to buy. I go, no, you don't understand. We've got to add value first. You want to give them things they can use. I always tell people, look, what you have to offer is valuable. Give people a life hack.
Yeah.
And they'll be attracted to your message because now you're a person who's adding value. And that way, when it comes time to buy something that you offer, they're going to think of you. That's the whole idea. And that's what we're into today. Add value all the time, because that's all I do. Actually, I rarely ever sell. I'll talk about, you can hire me, every 8th video. But generally speaking, here's what you can do. Here's the mindset you should have. Now go for it, man. And let me know how it works out. And that's I think a big thing is just add value.
Yeah. The attractive thing to me for somebody that's offering information, service, whatever, is show me, don't sell me.
Exactly. And we got Mark on here. Is Mark ready?
I still can't hear Cameron. I can hear you, Rob, clearly, but I can't hear Cameron.
Maybe because it's the phone.
That's so odd. Yeah, I know.
It could be. I shut off my.
Well, Rob,
Bluetooth,
you talk
so
to
I'm
him.
not sure.
You ask him a question.
Little technical difficulties here.
So Mark, do you have a question or something, or just perspective?
Well, I decided to come on because speaking about how my voice is monotonous and I have a problem, so I guess I'd rather jump into the lion's den and kind of overcome that shyness or that hesitation that I've had.
I always tell people, look, use what you've got. People always, for some reason, human nature is to look at our deficiencies, because we'll always compare ourselves, our weaknesses, to somebody else's strengths. And that's something we have to overcome within ourselves. So use what you've got. Now, look, I'm not a good looking guy. I'm not a great speaker. I'm not very intelligent, really. And it's not self-deprecating. I know where I stand in life. But, God gave me certain things that I can use, and maybe it's my personality. Maybe it's the fact that I love helping people. So I just use that, and I could care less about the rest. Mark, you got a great voice. You got a great presence. Look, you use that. And we're all a little reluctant to get in front of a camera or to put ourselves out there, even if it's not the video, to put our business and our product out there for fear that people won't see value. Doesn't matter. Here's the thing. We have a very I don't want to go there, but look, when a president is elected, half the people hate him, half the people like him. It doesn't matter. You only need that little edge, right? So here's the thing I run into with branding. The reason the Beast brand exists, and by the way, the Beast brand is not me, it's you. You have a beast of a brand. It takes guts to put yourself out there in a unique way, because you know that some people are not going to like it. But the flip side of that coin is some people are going to love it. Forget the haters, just engage with the lovers. When you identify your fan, engage with them and forget the others, right? So that's
thank you very much, Rob.
Yeah, no, I'd say just go for it, man.
All right, definitely. I still can't hear you, Cameron. But thank you for bringing me on. I'm actually at work right now, so thanks for having me on, and I'll definitely listen for the rest of the show. Thanks very much, Rob.
Coming on, Mark. Thanks for coming on, Mark. Appreciate it. Now, Cameron, now I can't hear you. You're muted.
He's busy saving lives. That's what he's doing. He's a paramedic.
Thank you, Mark.
In your local area. Yeah, exactly. He's on the front line, so we really appreciate him. So Stephanie dropped a few comments here. I know that I need to keep doing it to be more comfortable, just trying to find some good content that would be interesting for people. And then, she's talking about the stuff that she shares at Master Networks meetings, tips and tricks to avoid a large loss, like I shared at our Master Networks meetings. I've spoken to Stephanie, and I think she's got tons of content to share. I also think that even if she didn't have a ton of information, which she does, thanks, Mark. There's information all around us, and you can capture that and utilize that. Take the Master Networks tip in the morning, drop it into LinkedIn as an article, and then post it and put a line in there. This morning was on ideal clients. Are you targeting your ideal client? That's the hook line. Go down, write some bullet points. What's the point of that, right? Ideal clients, they provide more profit. They give you more word of mouth. They're more fun to work with, and then drop some hashtags in that post. You got a LinkedIn article that's going to get huge traction. And then you're going to take that next step, and you're going to send it to Cameron, and you're going to send it to Rob and say, hey, can you comment on this? You'll send an email, and we'll go on LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to create some energy and excitement around your content. And that's how you'll get a Master Networks tidbit that you didn't have to even create to get 10,000 views on LinkedIn for your business. That's what you can do. It's so easy. It's just doing it and being consistent.
Yeah. And, and I appreciate Stephanie's comment, trying to find some good content that would be interesting for people. So, you and I know Stephanie, and she's got a lot going for her. She's a tremendous lover of people and is always adding value. And actually, some of those things that she talks about that her company ServPro can help people with are so practical that it's almost like, well, I would hire them because she gave me practical advice without trying to sell me. But here's the other thing, Stephanie. Here's one of the things that I learned early on that helped me get content early, because that was a problem for me too, and it's a problem for most people. Like, what do I talk about? Like, what are people going to care about? It's so simple. Here's the thing. That in your daily course of your business, just think in any given week when you talk to customers, by and large, as you go along, you hear the same questions over and over and over again, and you get tired of answering them. So here's what I tell everybody. Okay, write down those 10 questions that you keep hearing from customers and answer them in front of your camera, right? So you answer a question. You could do a 5-minute talk answering a question that keeps reoccurring, and give that as value out on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever. It doesn't even matter. You can even write the article if you're a writer. Answer that question, and guess what? You've got content that can take you a month down the road because you can always expand on it. So that's a way to do it right there.
Yeah, I love that. This is the thing with social media. For everybody that's struggling with it, it's systemizing it. It's making it a part of your routine, utilizing a software like Later or Hootsuite or CoSchedule. There's a number of them out there, but getting it systemized, getting your 30-day plan. It may start with, because that seems like a lot. Oh man, I got to get another piece of software. Some of those are paid services. The first step can be, hey, I'm just going to do a daily video or a daily written post or a daily photograph. I mean, if you're a photographer, how many photographers do we probably know that have amazing content but are not posting a single photo every single day? I mean, talk about easy and to knock out of the park. How many photographs do they have? And I know it takes effort, but if you're not willing to put effort on your business, why are you in business, right? So anyway.
But when you talk about effort, I've had that same kind of thing with Instagram, because what am I going to post on Instagram that's going to interest people? Here's the thing. You don't know. But here's what I do know. There are plenty of people that built large followings on like the dumbest pictures. And when I say dumb, I mean that in a respectful way. That means it wasn't so amazing, except for the fact that they were consistent. And I guess it was interesting enough.
Consistency. Right now, TikTok, you can get a huge organic following, right? I have a high school friend. She's, I think, that lady Loper on TikTok. she just went viral. Like I just, I was looking at, we connected. It was like, ha. We connected on Facebook. I was like, I posted up something about, I'm on TikTok, follow me. She's like, ha, I'm going to follow you. I followed her and I'm learning from her because she's just found like the first one. And I was showing people, I showed Stephanie the other day on the phone. I created, just an advertisement really quickly with TikTok. Utilize these tools, experiment. You will find it. You'll find the right one for you. I'm talking about LinkedIn and TikTok as the most organic reach ones. But maybe your home is Facebook. Maybe your home is Instagram. Mark Jaffe saying I have almost 10,000 followers on my photography Facebook page. I keep feeding them pics. Amazing, right? And he doesn't even talk about that in Master Networks meetings. Like I'd be all over it, the brag,
I mean, it's a great point because, he's just doing what he loves and he's putting it out there. And when you're doing what you love and you have passion, look, I've had people tell me, they're like, I love talking with you about this stuff. You're really passionate about it. I love talking about this stuff. And maybe it's weird to some people, but that's what I do. And we all have a passion. The thing is, when you're excited about something, there are people who are going to be excited about the same thing.
Yeah. So I want you to just expand on that. If you're into Star Wars figures, if you're into, home design, if you're into fitness on the side and you think, there's all these fitness gurus and they look better. Forget about it. You have a huge potential following. Utilize it. Talk about it. We're all multidimensional. There's all different facets to our character. If you sell insurance, but I'm following you on the fitness thing and I become I trust you because I see you every day being on the fitness thing because you like posting about the fitness thing. You may be my next call for the insurance thing because you're going to post that 10th post. Hey, by the way, I do insurance. And if you're interested, give me a call.
And talking about that kind of thing, we talk about Master Networks, which has given me huge exposure. So think about this for a second. Here's what you can do in basically 2 steps to raise huge amounts of awareness and build up a following and get fans and get business even outside of a place like Master Networks. And it's really, really simple. And here's what you do. First of all, if you're not aware of Master Networks, we suggest you check it out. Cameron and I are part of them. What a great organization of people who genuinely care about what you do and want to send you business. So here's what you do. You see if Master Networks chapter has a place for you, and then you just add lots of value and start doing it all over the place. Appear in different meetings where you're allowed to. Post on Facebook because we have lots of great Facebook groups, and start developing a fan base because there are going to be people who really like you and really like what you have to offer. So they'll become fans of yours inside this organization. And guess what? You develop more and more of those fans, and those fans will start recommending you to people they know outside of the organization. And you capitalize on that fan base. And like I said, don't pay attention to the haters. If people don't like you, I know there's people who don't like me. I'm okay with that. But I know I have friends and fans. And those fans are introducing me to people who are influencers outside of the Master Networks organization. And that's what you do. Talk to your fans, right? Appeal to your fans and get to know your fans and keep adding value to them. Promote them as well. And guess what? We love people who talk about us, right? It's just human nature.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's such a big deal, right? I mean, you can't talk about it enough. I think it's stressed. But again, I'm going to networking meetings. You're going to networking meetings. Hearing it consistently from your peers, from folks that are, I don't want to say above your station, but I think we're always, if you're listening to like any kind of mentorship, business development, the power of your circle kind of stuff, you need to make sure there's people in your circle that are positive and lifting you up and preaching. If you're around 10 people that are all like, oh, you shouldn't do that on social media, you'll embarrass yourself. I mean, that's just, I couldn't do that. Oh my goodness. that's weird. Don't do, like, if that's who you're around, like, stop it. I'm not saying don't be their friend, but make sure you're meeting some other people, and whether it's master networks or BNI or an industry association. Samuel was talking about the other day that she's been a member of Toastmasters for a long time, which is an organization that really helps you with your speaking skills. So maybe Stephanie, maybe that's something that you should look into. Talk to Sammy about that. I'm not a member, and maybe I should be. Are you a member of Toastmasters? I know you do the speaking thing. Are you a member of Toastmasters? Rob?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, actually, I'm not. I know plenty of people that are. I'm not a member of Toastmasters for whatever reason. But when you talk about organizations, positive ones, so I was a part of another networking organization, and they didn't really value what I did, and they didn't really refer me. One person did, who got me business and values what I do. But the interesting thing is, when I joined Master Networks, I didn't change what I did, but a lot of people saw the value, and it's because it's a very positive organization who wants to see the value and does evaluate on its own merit and saw the value. So guess what? I went where people liked me and valued what I did, and I left the place where they didn't value me. I mean, it's as simple as that. So it's not like, sometimes we want validation from people about what we do. Well, look, if you know it adds value, sometimes you just look at another company or another person who is succeeding and doing the same thing you do. Well, it has value based on that. So now you just give it your own spin in your own style, go where you're appreciated, not where you're tolerated, and stick around some optimistic people, and you'll grow. You'll grow a fan base.
Yeah, I love that. I think there's two angles on that. One is, you just might not be in the right place if you're not getting the right value of it. But I also see a lot of people that, join the association chapter or the networking chapter for that matter, and they're a little disappointed because people aren't buying in to what they're selling. And my sort of commentary there is stop selling. Stop letting that be your one purpose of that organization. Every association or networking thing that I've done, I've joined not because of the sales potential, but because of the growth potential. So I know one of the things that's focused, like in Tina says, learning based, community based. So the associations that I'm involved with, I'm associating with them because they're places where they help me grow as a person. They help me work on my business. So that's why you get involved with them. And then if you want to sell, my advice is, if you're a member of an association, get involved with leadership, be on the committee, get more involved, because like most things, the more you put in, the more you'll get out.
And, it's a great point, Cameron. And, Tina Campbell from Master Networks has been just a great advocate for that. And one of the first things she told me when I joined Master Networks, and she didn't even know me, I met her for the first time. And by the time, we got together, maybe the second or third time, what she talked to me about was exposure. And she says, when you're exposing yourself, not in a bad way. Right?
Wait, PG audience here, Rob. Take it easy.
Sorry. But when you gain exposure, right, that's influence. So when I told her, I like to speak on the topics of branding and business and design, she was like, yeah, she goes, you're right. When you are a speaker, right, you have influence. And so that influence enables people to build a fan base like we're talking about. And so Tina is one of the best people who can teach others how to grow, right? And part of that growing process comes out of the teaching of others. I mean, there's that old saying that, the teacher learns more than the student, because when you teach people what you do, you gain insight about what you do that you wouldn't have had before in just practicing the thing you do. So the growth thing, I'm glad you touched on. That's what I love about Master Networks is we're growth minded. So when you get around people who are positive and growth minded, guess what? The sky's the limit there as far as doing business and building relationships.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's about, right? Whether it's branding your company, marketing your company, working on your business. It's about growth. It's making yourself better, making your business better. I'm really happy to be talking to you today. I can't believe how fast this hour has gone by, Rob. It's always a pleasure speaking with you, and I'm looking forward to having you on again, if you'll bear with me, to be on the show again, because I think we brought a lot of value. I can see a lot of people looking at this video because I think, we've talked about so much. I know we were meaning to even talk about like some tools, and I think we'll save that for the next time. I'm planning on doing something around technology tools to help, so maybe you'll even pop in for a little cameo on that one as we're coming up. I want to just advertise your website so people know where to go if they're looking for your services. I really recommend Rob's Genovesi's, and to let a little secret out of the bag, I plan on building a service offering that includes Rob as a part of the team, that I would be working with companies to help them with their branding and their marketing. So I'm really looking forward to offering that service to people and being a company that provides a team that comes in and really helps people with their brand and their messaging and how they're growing their business, which is what we've been talking about today. So I want you to go. If you have not been to Unleash My Beast brand, this is it here. He's got some really great tools, some really great call to actions, which if you're developing your website, Mark and everybody else that's watching, having some really great call to actions is a secret sauce for success in website building. Make sure you're telling your customers how to get involved in your services. I know there's a ton of interesting content on here, so I hope folks find you at Unleash My Beast brand. I would really like if you could take us out of here, Rob, and give the folks some parting words. And sure.
Yeah, one of the things that I love to say, and I want to thank Maria for coming by, and Mark and Stephanie and Mark. I'm glad you guys got some value out of this. I would say this: a part of what holds people back is fear, and the fear will paralyze you from moving forward. The fear of what will people think about me, or what if I do something with my brand that people don't like. If you noticed on my website there, it said, imagine an endless flow of clients who love you. Now that means that where there's love, there is hate, right? It's just always, that's the way it works. So there are people who are not going to like you. You have to not be afraid of people not liking you. So I would say go forward and just kick fear to the curb and just do what you love, be who you are, put it out there, keep adding value. And I'm telling you, you do that consistently, like Cameron said, and you give it a year of consistent posting your value in various social media platforms, you will develop a fan base and you will love building your business. And that's what I want for everybody.
I love that, Rob. I love that idea of a year. I started doing these Biz Dev Lives with the whole mentality of, I'm doing this for at least a year. I think I may be doing this in some kind of form for the rest of my life because I enjoy it so much, but at least a year. For everybody that watched today, these are the early days. I'm so glad you guys tuned in. I really want you to take advantage of the people that we're bringing on, because I can imagine today it's going to get a little bit harder to get through the noise. So these are the opportunities to take advantage of and support each other and build our businesses together. Rob, thank you so much. I'll let you officially close it out.
Thanks, Cameron. I appreciate the opportunity to be on here and talk with you. It did go by very fast, and I look forward to doing more collaborations in the future. Thank you very much. See you.